Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name's James, and before I dive into this, I need to ask you one thing. Please don't judge me until you've heard everything. I know how tempting it is to take one part of a story and run with it. But trust me, this isn't the kind of story you half listen to. If you've ever been in a relationship where your heart made decisions faster than your head, you might see where I'm coming from. And if you haven't, maybe this will keep you from learning the hard way, like I did. If I have one big regret, it's that I didn't walk away when I still had the chance. That's on me. No one forced me to stay. I don't blame anyone but myself for how things unfolded. The truth is, my relationship was shaky from the very start, and I didn't do enough to build it on solid ground. But I want to be fair here. It wasn't all bad. Before everything fell apart, the lies, the betrayal, the heartbreak, there were moments that felt good, moments that felt real. Those memories are part why I stayed longer than I should have, and they matter to this story. So, stick with me. This isn't just about pain. It's about how quickly peace can turn into chaos when love is built on the wrong foundation. I first met Mary at a housewarming party. One of my closest friends had just moved into a new place and invited us all over to celebrate. It was one of those weekend get-togethers with music, drinks, and a loud crowd. Honestly, not really my thing. But I went because he was my friend, and I figured it wouldn't hurt to be social for once. I've always been on the quieter side. So, while everyone else was laughing, drinking, and having fun, I found myself hanging back, scanning the room, waiting for the right moment to leave without looking rude. And then I saw her, Mary. She was perched on the arm of a couch, quietly watching the room the same way I was. Her friends were scattered around, laughing and talking to everyone, but she was different. She looked present but detached, and that caught my attention. I walked over and said, "Hey!" She looked a little surprised and smiled, and just like that, the ice broke. I asked if she was okay, and she admitted she wasn't much of a party person. She said she only came along because she didn't want to sit home alone. We both laughed, and from there, the conversation just flowed. By the time the party was over, it felt like we'd known each other forever. Before she left, we exchanged numbers, just a simple gesture, but it was the start of something. At the time, I didn't know what that something would be, but it felt good. From then on, we talked often, checked in on each other, and little by little, we grew closer. It actually took about a year before we officially became a couple, but when we finally did, it felt natural. There was this quiet rhythm between us, like we understood each other without words. For two introverts, that was priceless. 3 years passed just like that, and our bond deepened. I was in my early 30s, long past the stage of playing around, and Mary was about to turn 28. From our late-night talks, I knew she wanted something serious, too. So, I made my move, I proposed, and she said yes right away. We didn't want a long engagement. So 6 months later, we got married. At the time, it felt like everything was falling into place. I believed I'd made the right choice. I really thought married life would be smooth sailing from there. When our son was born, I felt like we had everything we could possibly need. But soon, I started noticing changes in Mary. She became more focused on material things, clothes, accessories, gadgets. She'd send me links to shoes, bags, or jewelry with those subtle, "I want this" hints. At first, I brushed it off, thinking it was just her way of feeling good about herself after having a baby. But over time, I noticed it wasn't just about treating herself. It became constant. Every week there was something new she wanted. "Babe, I need this dress for our anniversary. These shoes are perfect for the summer. I saw this necklace that would look great with my new dress." And here's where I messed up. I bought it all, every single thing. I told myself, happy wife, happy home. I thought that if I kept her smiling, everything else would fall into place. I didn't see that all that spending was slowly sinking us. I couldn't save a dime, let alone put money aside for the house we kept talking about. Every time we made progress, she'd find something else to spend it on. And to be clear, she wasn't asking for cheap things. Mary had big dreams. She wanted a large home in a nice neighborhood, near good schools and shopping centers. That kind of house would take a huge down payment, one we definitely couldn't afford with the way things were going. But I kept telling myself she deserved it. She was a new mom, working hard at home, and I wanted to give her what she asked for. Deep down, though, I could feel the pressure building. Money was getting tighter. But I kept pushing through, thinking things would eventually balance out. Then reality hit. 3 years into our marriage, I lost my job. I still remember sitting in that office as they told me I was being let go. It felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. At first, I tried to stay calm. I told myself I'd find something else quickly. I had a good track record, after all. But the truth was, we were already living paycheck to paycheck. We had no real savings, just enough to cover day-to-day expenses. I'd been so focused on the now, on keeping Mary happy, that I hadn't prepared for the worst. And when the worst happened, we were left with nothing but bills and overdue payments. I tried everything: side gigs, freelance work, odd jobs I didn't even like, anything to keep money coming in. But whatever I made would vanish just as fast because Mary's demands never stopped. It was like pouring water into a bottomless well. And every time I walked through the door, I'd get an earful: complaints, criticism, questions about what I was doing and why I wasn't doing enough. I felt like a failure in my own home, but I kept grinding. I thought if I worked hard enough, I could fix things. I thought if I kept giving her what she wanted, it would bring some peace. But it didn't. It just drained us completely. Until one day, everything changed. I came home tired and walked down the hallway, only to hear Mary talking on the phone. She didn't know I was there. I caught just enough of the conversation to understand. "I can't see you every day," she said. "Twice a week is enough for now." My stomach dropped. I knew exactly what that meant. I walked into the room. She froze, guilt written all over her face. I asked her directly who she was talking to. She stuttered, tried to cover it up, but I wasn't playing that game anymore. I pressed until she broke, and then she admitted it. She said she was doing me a favor by staying. She told me her new man was the one spending on her now. In that moment, I felt everything shatter. After all the sacrifices I'd made, after everything I'd done to hold us together, this was what I got in return. I told her to leave. "Go be with him," I said. "Clearly, you don't want me. You've already got what you need." She didn't even hesitate. "I will," she said, almost like she'd just been waiting for me to say it. "You have nothing to offer." That line cut deep, right there in front of me. She called a guy and said, "I'm moving in with you." Then she started packing her things and my son's things too. Before leaving, she turned to me and said, "If you try to take him from me, I'll make your life miserable." And she wasn't wrong. I had no power. I had nothing left to fight with. I won't lie. Part of me wanted to beg her to stay, to try to fix it. But another part of me knew it was over. I just stood there and watched her walk away. It was hell. Months later, the pain was still raw. She divorced me quickly, making sure she was free to marry the man she'd cheated with, except he was never serious about her. He was already married, with kids in another state, when his project in our city ended. He left her behind without looking back. Meanwhile, I was left with nothing but a broken heart and a few belongings. But slowly, something inside me changed. Without Mary's constant demands, I could finally breathe. Every bit of money I made could go toward building something real, instead of disappearing into an endless cycle of trying to keep someone happy. I started hustling, freelance gigs, physically demanding jobs, anything that could bring in cash. Eventually, I stumbled on e-commerce. At first, it was just another side hustle. But one product took off, and soon I was seeing real money come in. For the first time in years, I had hope. I reinvested every penny I could, saved aggressively, and grew that business. Eventually, I expanded into multiple income streams, other online stores, services, even stocks. 3 years later, I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was thriving. I bought a house in the exact kind of neighborhood Mary used to dream about. I bought a reliable car. I upgraded my life piece by piece. And then, when I felt stable enough, I went looking for my son. When I found him, he wasn't in a good place. Seeing him like that lit a fire in me. I realized I couldn't let him stay in that situation any longer. That's when I found out the full story about Mary. How she'd been abandoned by the man she left me for. How life had been hard for her since then. When I told her I wanted custody, she looked at me desperately and asked, "What about me? What about you?" I replied. She asked if I considered taking her back now that things were good. I didn't hesitate. "You're not my family anymore," I told her. She cried, tried to make me feel guilty, but I wouldn't fall for it again. We went to court. She accused me of abandonment, of being a bad father. But the truth came out. My lawyer laid out everything. Her affair, her leaving, her instability, and the judge granted me full custody. She fought hard, but she lost. She even tried suing me for alimony, but the court threw it out. It was exhausting, but in the end, I walked away with what mattered most, my son. Even after losing the case, Mary tried to come back into my life. She called, texted, played the victim card, tried to lure me in during visitation, but I didn't fall for it. She even tried dressing up the way she used to when we first met, thinking it would win me over, but I had learned my lesson the hard way. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "I'm not that man anymore." And I meant it. Looking back now, I can honestly say those were the hardest years of my life, but also the most important. Losing everything forced me to rebuild from the ground up, to find out who I was without her control, without her demands. Today, I co-parent with Mary, but that's it. We're not friends. We'll never be together again. She's part of my past, and that's where she'll stay. I focus on my son and on building the life we deserve. So let me ask you, if you were in my position, what would you have done? Would you have taken her back or walked away like I did? Some might call me cold for cutting her off completely, but honestly, I don't regret it. That pain woke me up. It made me stronger, and I wouldn't change a thing. Thanks for staying with me through this story. If you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. It might just save them from making the same mistakes I did.